Hi guys, so now we are going to move on to the second explanation, which is the cultural and behavioural, and this will help you fill out the M2 table. We're having a look at explaining the use of unhealthy behaviours and how that can act as a diversion from daily difficulties, which then will lead on to the cause of ill health. We'll examine interpersonal behaviours of the social class, of the lower social class, and their impact on health. And we're going to analyse whether long-term sick role behaviour is actually just an escape from the pressures of everyday life, which will then go on to cause ill health. And explore the differing behaviours and cultural practice that may impact on separate social characteristics, such as your gender, age and ethnicity. So again, we're looking at the Black Report, which was published in 1980, and we're going to have a look at the cultural and behavioural explanation. Now this stems that it's an actual unequal health, and it stems from the differences in behaviour of people from different classes. And it goes on to say that working class people have the worst health because they're more likely to engage in activities such as drinking, smoking, and taking drugs. And then some argue that behavioural differences between the social classes result from cultural differences. But Marmot actually shows that this is only a small part of the class gap in mortality, and it's actually due to health damaging behaviour. So is it true? What is life like for the working class and underclass? So those ones who are working, that are just hitting the minimum wage, are likely to find it very stressful, wondering where the next money is going to come to pay the next bills, which we know leads on to ill health. But do those in the lower social classes behave in ways, and is it always the lower social classes that are smoking and drinking to excess, which has that ill health, causes ill health? So smoking, we know, causes lung cancer, drinking causes cirrhosis of the liver. But the question is it really only the lower social classes that indulge in these activities? So just want you to have a real think of that. I mean, life is tough for everybody, isn't it? And you're having a tough day, and what do you turn to? Would you turn to having a cigarette, going to have a nice takeaway, a nice big fat juicy burger, large fries, or would you have a glass of wine? And if we're engaging in a glass of wine every day, we know that that can build up and cause our liver issues. We know if we overeat and we're not burning enough calories, then we get obese. But again, the question is asked, is it only the lower social classes that behave this way when they're having a tough time? If you are a high-flying banker, if you're in the finance industry and you are earning £120,000 a year, surely if you are feeling stressed, are you going to have a cigarette? If you are under so much pressure in work, some people may have a line of Coke in order to be able to keep going and keep up with their competition, because in the financial world, people are working against each other to get those bonuses. So this is why we are identifying these theories, because are they completely one-sided? Are they saying that the lower classes bring it all on themselves because they've got no money, and yet they've got money for fags and beer? But isn't that everybody's fundamental flaw in that case, where they use those crutches in order to get through a bad day? Now, when you think of crime, looking at the next one, if I'm talking to you about crime, what is the first image that pops into your head? What sort of person is committing this crime? Again, is it the first image that comes into your head? And write down that thought that image that comes into your head. Just make a note of it now on a piece of paper. Okay? And this is what we'd normally do in class. So once you've done that, I want you to think, is it only lower class people that commit crimes? Now, I've just been talking to you about high-flying bankers, those in the financial district. Did those come into your mind? Or did you draw or have the image in your head of somebody in a hoodie and a tracksuit bottom, dealing drugs on the street corner, or breaking into somebody's little old lady's house? See how we've been conditioned to only think that crime is committed by what we call the blue-collar sector. And that equally, if we were looking at crime and deviance, I'd go into this in more detail. Is it really also just as crimes going on in white collar as well, but we just don't hear about it because it's normally money that people are stealing. And therefore, when we're thinking of crime, we're thinking of burglaries, drugs, assaults, all those kind of things, which are predominantly in the media caused by the social class, lower social class. Are we thinking that people committing benefit fraud are worse than tax evaders? So again, it's using your thought process to look at the bigger picture. So when we look at statistics, there we go, there's our man in his hoodie. So we look at statistics and it tells us that young males from working underclass sectors are most likely to commit crime. These are the stats that have been drawn out. And Willett and Griffin in 1999 found that working class men in prison justified their behaviour by claiming they were simply supporting their families. So they were desperate for the money in order to support their families. We've got 41% of male prisoners had an unskilled or partly skilled jobs before coming into prison. So they hadn't been had a good education, therefore they hadn't been or didn't feel they had the abilities to get a good job because of their background. A proportion of the general UK population with unskilled or partly skilled jobs was at 18%, and 13% of male prisoners were homeless before going into prison. So people from lower social class backgrounds are significantly more likely to appear in victim and conviction stats than people from wealthier backgrounds. And this is looking at what we call interpersonal behaviors, such as crime, violence, homicide, suicidal self-harm, and these can clearly affect health. So if somebody is the recipient, unfortunately, of crime or violence or homicide, that will have a massive impact on their mental well-being. There's also the question that the long-term sick role behaviour is an escape from pressures of everyday life. So people may go on the sick because of stress and some strains from work. However, if they do not partake in the sick role as in get themselves better, and they are just, as the cartoon says, sitting around thinking up excuses from not working, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So people can actually get more stressed because they are worrying again. The sick pay isn't a lot, folks. I think currently it's £90 a week.